Go live.
Please, sir.
Okay. Good evening and welcome you all back again for yet another most awaited event. Let's hear my school. As a customary practice that we have with us Brahmachari Mahesh Chaitanya to shower the blessings on all of us, and for those of you who have tuned in for the first time and haven't heard and met Brahmachari Maheshwar Chaitanya, a brief introduction of our Swamiji. Maheshwar Chaitanya ji is a graduate in commerce and then did his post-graduation in masters in computer application. He is currently the chairman for admissions into Ahmedabad School of Engineering at all the 4 campuses at Chennai, Bangalore, Coimbatore, and Amardapuri. He is also the deputy controller of examinations for Ahmedabad School of Engineering, Amardapuri campus, and he is the associate director for ICPC, International Colleges for Programming Contest, and he is instrumental for bringing in many students into this competition of programming, and is also a recipient for the Leadership Award for having spent more than a decade with ICPC, and congratulations to you, Swamiji, for receiving the honor of being the Best Leadership Award in the year 2016. So we have Brahmachari Maheshwar Chaitanya, who will be lighting the lamp and opening the session with the blessings of our Chancellor, Mata Mudantamai Devi. So over to you, Swamiji, for seeking your blessings. So thank you so much, Swamiji, for showering the blessings of our Chancellor Amma to all of us, and I'm confident that in the months to come that we will be having the usual peace of mind and good health across the globe. Now, all of you are waiting for introducing the guest who is going to talk to us on a very, very, very critical, crucial topic of experiential learning. And today we have a guest who is a veteran in the field of any topics, whatever you give to him, is Dr. M. Dinesh Babu. It's a coincidence that Dr. Dinesh Babu served the defense in the Indian Air Force for 17 years and then took a retirement, and he's been teaching for close to 2 decades. When I said coincidence, it's actually today is the Air Force Day. And what a coincidence that we have a person, Dr. M. Dinesh Babu, who served Indian Air Force and now with us on the same day. So happy Air Force Day, Dr. Sir. Happy Air Force Day. And welcome you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome you for this very important topic, which most of us are confused by hearing the name itself. But the name denotes something like, experiential learning or learning with experience or hand-on learning. I'm not a veteran to talk about it. So before I put him on to the discussions, it's always good to introduce Doctor to all of us. And he is currently the principal of CSM Center School at Thrissur in Kerala. He's also the city coordinator for National Testing Authority, NTA. He's a CBSE city coordinator for Thrissur district. He's the general secretary of Sahodaya School Complex again. And not only that, he's a totally highly profiled and well-known consultant who could guide any schools regarding our affiliation process. And in case you have any difficulty in upbringing your school, you can always approach Dr. Dinesh Babu. So he will take on and see that you are out of the trouble in getting the affiliation as well as bringing up the school to a level of maturity. So he's a consultant. So which means highly knowledgeable person. He's also an academic auditor, and he is a mentor to most of the CBSE schools. So anything on Central Board of Secondary Education in New Delhi, please approach Dr. Dinesh Babu. He will diagnose and give you a fantastic prescription to get you out of these troubles. And I know many schools have this because I also interact with principals of various CBSE schools, and I know what it is all about. And yeah, he's a master trainer. Yes, sometimes there is a problem with the net, so it will come back. Nothing to exalt technology. Swamiji is here. Under any circumstances, he will bail us out from any trouble on technology. So he's there with a smile there. So, sir, master trainer. I mean, in the sense that what do you mean by this master trainer? And it's you train the trainers. That's why you call yourself master trainer.
Exactly.
Yeah, welcome this topic. And before we start, I'm going to ask you a few questions and then put on to Swamiji for his clarification. What do you mean by this master trainer, sir?
Exactly, sir. What you said, we even train the trainers also. That's why master trainer.
All right. So you have a particular topic to train the trainers, or you can train everyone in any subject, whatever is.
Not every subject, maybe, but almost the subjects related to teaching learning, I can train. Teaching learning related subjects, almost.
So generally, I ask a question before how is that from uniform job, right? From the Indian Air Force, working for close to a little over 17 years. You have done one of those, two things. You are so lucky to have. I think three things you are always there. You farm something. You are interested in agriculture. I mean, do you grow some?
No, I'm interested, but I don't farm that much. Maybe in future. I do have some land and all. But I really like it.
But
and I promote organic farming and all. Okay. I promote organic farming and all. Talk for it. You can say bat for it.
All right. So I always say, I keep saying this whenever I have an opportunity, that three of those top noblest of the noblest, I would say noblest of the noblest professions are soldier, then farmer, then a teacher. So I'm finding somebody for the first time that all these three professions are there in you. That's why I wanted to pull you out on those agriculture, So you are a farmer, may not be into a large scale, but you are a farmer. You are into defense forces, so you are a soldier, no doubt. Now you are a teacher. So what a second coincidence that we have one of those noblest of the noblest personality who's going to address on a topic called experiential learning, right? Wonderful. So we welcome you for this, and my question to beginners, how did you change your, of course, you have a retirement age in the defense services, but then after retirement, what prompted you to take up a profession in teaching? Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Krish sir.
Thank you, sir.
For your wonderful, energetic introduction and the opening of the today's session, sir. You have already set that tone now. Okay, then I give to lead to that expectation now. It's a huge task you have given to me now. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Sir, if you ask me, see, I have always been a teacher. So absolutely there was no problem for me in shifting and all. I didn't find that I have shifted from that job and because even in Air Force also I was into some kind of trainings and all. There also I enjoyed teaching others, and it's there in my gene, you can say, because I belong to a teacher's family. So right from the warp, I started hearing the teaching, Kerala education rules, that and all, you know. So I never felt a transition problem from teaching. I mean, as a soldier to teaching and all. I always enjoy teaching. I do enjoy now also.
Absolutely. So I mean, I think your parents and your sisters, your siblings, all would be in the teaching profession, if I'm right, isn't it, sir? Wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. 3 generation back teachers family, you can say. My
Looking at
grandfather,
you,
grandmother.
yeah, very good. Looking at you, Doctor Sir, I mean, I sometimes read faces, may go wrong, but in my case, when I'm going to ask you, you look as a good, you have a good habit of reading, which I don't have. You're a good reader, voracious reader.
You can say to an extent that is true.
Yeah, see, that's why. So my guess is right. Because if you're not a good reader, you can't promote all those laws and bylaws of CBSE, because CBSE sends every day circulars after circulars. So unless you're a good reader, you can't be talking about CBS laws and bylaws. So very good, very good. Now I'm just waiting for Swamiji to take over from me to lead this talk. So may I request Swamiji to be on the screen, and then the topic is on experiential learning. And I was talking to Doctor that we also have a similar way of experiential learning. Our Living Lab is a live example of our experiential learning, right? So over to you, Swamiji, on your 3 questions that you're going to shoot on Doctor. I believe Doctor is also from different services. Shoot. Over to you, Swamiji. Over to you, Swamiji. Over to you.
I'm wearing a shield now.
Yeah, better. Yeah. Over to you, Swamiji.
Shield is out. Shield is out now.
Yeah. Anyway, the government is pushing for this experiential learning, especially in this pandemic period of teaching and learning process. So, what is the best method that can be applied? In the lower, maybe I should say that somewhere between 5th and 8th standard students, so that they will experiment the concepts, not only just the experimenting the concepts, but also they get to learn some principles and values out of it. How is it possible that experiential learning can be a good platform to inculcate and impart values?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because simulation may be the best method now. Okay, as they are not coming to school and all, it is better, they assume and we get that situation. Okay, and values are always a part of learning. So, see, through simulation we create that environment and all, and make the students to think, and they can find out what is right, what is wrong and all, maybe through stories or through some surveys and on online surveys and all. In that way, and based on the experience of others, they can learn values. The simulation may be the best approach, I think, during this pandemic time. Maybe other things may not be possible. Still, we have. Maybe in the course of my talking, I can give some examples because I will have to talk about other things so that they understand what I mean by simulation and all.
All right. So, Swamiji, I would certainly request you with the second question.
So, see, now what is it that the teachers, now we talk about the teaching, but for the teachers who went through this whole 6 to 7 months of this pandemic period, for them, I think this is the best application of the experiential learning, because they had to learn quite a large number of technologies to make sure that their classes are going on smooth. So, do you think that the change in the psychologically, the change in the mindset of the teachers, how is it that going to help them in the future in the teaching process?
The question is that adaptability, Now the whole teachers, they have proven it now because they are highly adaptive. Because when the need arises, they can shift into that mode and they will be able to work. So that is what is proven now. Okay, and even I never thought maybe 8 months back or 6 months back I would be having a class like this. I would be able to take a class like this and a section like this and all. So it is all about adaptability. That is what is proven there. And again, it's an experiential learning. You know, every day we learn something, we get something from this experience, and we reflect on it. That is what is experiential learning is all about. You know. Am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right direction? Right? And which are all the areas I need to improve? Which are all the areas I feel that I'm comfortable? And from that position, you know, what are the things I will be able to build on and all? So that reflection is taken place now. Reflection is taken place. And more than that, the teachers, you know, they have gained confidence. Gain confidence means they have proven that they will be able to go with the change, because that the change is the only inevitable thing that happens. You know, we never thought this would happen so rapidly, but it had happened, and we are with that one.
Okay, see, my last question is a little critical question.
Yeah.
See, for example, I'm 100% sure that not all the teachers in the schools were not able to make that change. And when you look forward, when we say that we are going to have the new education policy, national education policy being implemented, and it is very closely related, connected with the experiential learning, the concept of experiential learning. What is it that you think an average teacher needs to try out this experiential learning in the classes, in the teaching learning process? And that also, it is not just for anybody, but for all the subjects, because I am sure that this requires tremendous training at the principal level, so that they will be able to guide the teachers, right? So, which means that a music teacher cannot, or a sports teacher cannot just do with whatever they have now, or a physics teacher, mathematics teacher cannot just do away with what they have now. So how is that possible for an average teacher? What is the kind of change you think that they should look into?
Sir, I say, no, a teacher should be a teacher of learning always. They should have a mindset to learn. Okay, they must be passionate. There must be, that's very, very important, passionate. Because once we do this job, we are supposed to keep learning every day. We need to add new knowledge to our repertoire at all. Once you have this mindset, it is easy, sir. It is easy. As I said in the beginning, you know, adaptability. So I always say a teacher should have 5 qualities. Okay, the first one is that knowledge about the subject or whatever they teach. And there cannot be a master of that subject. If someone has a post-graduation in physics and all, doesn't mean that he or she knows everything about that one. At least they can be master of that particular topic what they teach, knowledge level. Okay, they can keep learning that. And second, ability. The ability means the ability to teach. A teacher's ability, they must have that. And the third one, that's the most important, that is passion. If you have become a teacher by choice, not by chance, if you have become the teacher by choice, you never complain, you know, you enjoy everything. Whatever you do, you will enjoy. You will never feel that, oh, I am doing a job and all. As the Chinese proverb goes, if you get a job that you love, you will never do a job. That is what it's all about, a passionate teacher, right? And the fourth thing, you must be sincere. You must be honest. If you are a sincere teacher, you don't do the things for showing others. Okay, you always enjoy your work and do it to the utmost sincerity. Absolutely no problem. And besides all these, the last one, but maybe as important as all others, that is common sense, wisdom, you can say. If you have these 5 qualities, you know, let anything get changed in the world, you will swim. You will swim. This is what I believe. So it's not a big ask, Samiji. The thing is that you must have a will to learn. Then definitely there is no average teacher, Samiji. I don't think there is no average teacher. You need to love the job. Okay, you should have that aim always, you know, to learn something new every day. then I think there won't be an issue also. And these are inevitable also. Once you lack these qualities and all, because we live in a highly volatile world, every day things keep changing. You have to learn new things. Did I answer to you, Swamiji?
Yeah, my specific point was, so what is your message to those teachers who came into teaching, where they had no passion or by compulsion? That is very critical.
Very critical. Sir, sometimes, I tell another example. In the case of an arranged marriage and all, always we don't get the partner as our choice. Sometimes it happens in an arranged marriage and all. But what happens, after marriage, we start serving. And that's the way the relationship is built up. The same thing here also, sir. If it is not passion, and you need to do it. They say, and this is the part we play. This is the part we play, then we have to do it. Otherwise, I will say that whoever feels it is not their cup of tea, that should not continue any job, sir. Any job. We need to enjoy it. It must be a passionate, sir. I don't know. There is a saying in English. Okay, it says, if you play the part of a dog, you need to bark. Otherwise, please, if you feel that barking is not my cup of tea, or I won't be able to do that, then you should not take that part.
No, since you mentioned marriage, I think it's my time for me to leave. Because Krishnan is more experienced in that.
No, Swamiji, what doctor says is love marriage would be more successful than arranged marriage.
I never meant it, sir. I never meant it.
No. Doctor did mention that, teachers getting into the profession by choice. They have the passion, so they are successful. So love marriage would be more successful. But one thing, love marriages could be successful. I'm not denying that. But arranged marriage will have more choices after the marriage.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
So, whether to continue or not, because arranged marriage, you can say, if something goes wrong with the marriage, I tell my dad, you only picked up my wife. See, what do you do? So you have an opportunity of more choices after the arranged marriage, which is not so when you are on a.
I totally agree with you, sir. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Subject is experiential learning. So that's
So I think we should come back to
No, experiential learning. The topic is experiential learning. So I thought from experience, let me talk to that. Okay, thank you so much for being with us. And
thanks a lot.
Swamiji, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Nice, sir.
So let's get on to our discussion with the doctor. And as you all know, that today we're going to talk about, he's going to make a presentation on what exactly is experiential learning, what is it, and how could you implicate it in your classrooms, and when you get back to your schools, or even on a live, how could you do that? So let me invite once again Doctor for showing. You have some PowerPoints, right, Doctor?
Yes.
So let's begin with the PowerPoint presentation and patiently listen and understand from him as to what is this experiential learning is all about. Over to you, sir. The dais is yours. Please carry on.
Thank you, sir. Nice time. We had a nice time. So, okay, this is all about experiential learning now. My slides are not moving. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it'll move. Can you get on to slideshow? Can you press slideshow?
It is slideshow already in slideshow, sir.
Is it on slideshow?
Yeah.
No, I have my own doubts, sir. Slideshow means it will cover the entire screen, which is not. Just go to slideshow.
No, it is on slideshow. In the beginning, I did it. Anyway, I will do it again.
Now it's moving. Now it's moving.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to discuss something experiential learning. Okay, and mostly I would be covering the answer to these questions. What is experiential learning? And who is the proponent of this theory? Who is troubling us now? And the stages of its cycle and possible methods to be used in experiential learning strategy in the classrooms. So I'll start from what is experiential learning. Before that, I would just want to show you a pyramid. It tells about, the retention, maybe the capacity you could say, or the retention rate once we follow a certain approaches in teaching.
Doctor, Doctor, are you thinking the pyramid has not come? Pyramid hasn't come?
I don't know. It's not coming. Is my screen visible now? Is my screen visible? Is it visible now? I don't know. Sir, is it visible? My screen is visible or not?
But why don't you go on top of that and there is a click button there, slideshow. It is not slideshow. Just go on top, slideshow, and extreme left will be to start from the beginning. You can take your time.
No. Is my screen seen or not now?
Your screen is seen on experiential learning is the first slide I'm seeing.
No, not the other ones.
Not the other one. That's why, sorry.
In my system, it is moving.
No, in my screen, it is not moving.
Again. Now look. Now I'm going for slideshow. Is it seen now? Is it seen now?
No.
It is moving here, sir. Let me show you. What is seen now? Is in the screen now? What
experiential learning.
Experiential learning. And in the left-hand side of the screen, the slides are seen or not?
Left side, the small bits of slides are seen.
Now I'm going to the extreme left now. From beginning, slideshow from beginning. Is it seen here? My cursor is here. Okay, and I'm doing it here.
1 minute, doctor. You will get a call from my office, and you can just they'll tell you how to do that now. 1 minute.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, you will get a call. You will get a call now.
I'm meeting.
Yeah, no problem. We'll wait.
For
good things, see the good things. People have to wait, doctor. It's not easy to get those good learning from you on experiential, just like that. So God says, please wait. So let us wait to see some good points from you on power, which is called PowerPoints. So let's wait. No hurry at all. Now you get a call. You can speak to. Yeah. Doctor, any luck? For those of you who are still waiting for the doctor to start off with the PowerPoint, I think there's a slight delay on his display of PowerPoints. Kindly bear with us till such time that doctor gets back with the PowerPoint. He will get back, there's no doubt at all. But so teachers, how are the days going on, and how is it? How's the day? I know all of you are busy from morning till evening, right? Into a lot of live streaming with the students. So it will take a little more time for us to reopen the school, I'm sure, but across the good news is that the last 2 weeks, yes, there is a dip in number of positives and maybe Kerala is an exception, and all of you please stay safe. What happened? Yeah.
It comes, sir, now?
Yes, sir. Now it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm going to move on. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, DS, for the trouble. Okay.
No
This is the problem sometimes with the technology and all.
In
Okay.
fact, you waited, the number of attendees have gone up by about 10.
Is it? Okay, good.
The last 5 minutes, it has increased by 10.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Generally, there's a tendency to increase, but it has gone up by 10. So please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So, this is all about experiential learning we are going to discuss. So, this is what I told in the beginning. I could not show the slides that time. What is experiential learning? Of course, we will learn today. And who is the proponent of this theory? That also we will have a discussion. Then in the stages of its cycle, that is very, very important. Okay. Then possible methods to be used in experiential learning strategy inside the classroom. So we will be discussing on all these points. So one by one, what is experiential learning? That I will tell you first. Again, it is experiencing some problem.
I think this is experiential learning, sir. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now the pyramid is seen, right?
Okay, yes, good.
Okay, good. So this is what I was telling that time. You know, the retention capacity of learners once we approach certain methods. If they attend only lectures and all, only 5% will be the retention capacity, maybe after three months and all. And once you read and all, if you keep on reading the same thing for days together and you may remember it. Otherwise, you know, if you read once and only your retention capacity will be 10%. Then audiovisual, it could be 20%, and demonstration and all 30%, discussion, group and all, heated arguments, debate and all those things, it could be 50% after 3 months or 6 months and all. Practice by doing, that is 75%, that only maximum 75%. But the best method is teaching others. You will never forget because they keep on learning every day. But here my point is that if you want to retain whatever we learn, the best approach is either teaching or practice it by doing. So the experiential learning is something similar to that. That is active learning as well. Now look this. Aristotle, you know it. Okay, long back, more than 2,600 years back and all. What he told you know, for the things we have to learn, before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Walking is the best example. Okay, what he meant, walking is the best example. If you look at the theory, the scientific theory behind walking and all, how many muscles are affected there, all those things, you know, you may wonder. But before knowing it, we started walking. That's what Aristotle meant. Because for the things we have to learn, before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Okay, that is the best retention method also. Now, that's not our topic today. Now, what is experiential learning? Learning through experience and reflection. Okay, we learn from a direct experience, and after learning, we reflect the experience. I will give you ample enough examples for this one, how to reflect and all. But what is reflection? After doing an activity, okay, and after undergoing an experience, we reflect. What did I learn from here? What is my experience on this one? What was the real enjoying moment for this one? What didn't I enjoy? Okay, whatever I did, could I have been, a little more experience to do it, this one? Like, this is what is reflection. And you can say in other words, experiential learning is hands-on experience in education that solidifies a lesson through practice rather than just oral instruction. That's what we do now. That's what we do. We see 15 lakhs engineers are coming out in India, but if you really look at the statistics, not even 10% are employable. You know the reason? They fail to apply the theory into practicals. If you ask an electrical engineer, electrical engineer to put up a fuse wire, he or she may not be able to do it. But if you ask the same question in examination, they will write 10 pages. It happens with every profession. Okay, so that's why, it's a hands-on experience in education that solidifies a lesson through practice rather than just oral instruction. Creates a bridge between learning the theory and practicing the theory. And students develop knowledge, skills, values from direct experiences. That's what, Samaji was asking us. Okay, how can value be taught through experiential learning and all? I will tell you with examples afterwards. Okay, now, before going to the next part, I can give you the best example. See, I don't know, because I'm unable to see the chat box now. Out of you, how many of you know how to ride a bicycle? I don't know. Out of you, how many know how to ride a bicycle? How to pedal a bicycle? I hope I hope they are using the chat box and all. I hope majority would be knowing it. Majority would be knowing it. Do you remember the way you have learned riding a bicycle? Look, were you successful in the very first attempt itself? I don't think. Okay, and you must have been corrected. You must have been made to reflect, or you must have reflected yourself, after each attempt. It's a lengthy process. It's a lengthy process. So every time we attempt it, you may not be successful, but you correct yourself, do it again, correct yourself, do it again, reflection, correction, until you become a master. And I tell you, see, it is almost 25 years since I pedaled a bicycle, but I don't think I have forgotten it. And you will never forget it. Once you have learned it, you will never forget it, because you learned it through experience. You learned it through experience. Take the question of cooking. See, in the very first insult, I don't know how many of you remember the first your experience of making tea. I don't think it could have been a highly successful experience. And whatever the dishes you prepared also. And every attempt we started reflecting on it. Something went wrong. Okay, this time salt is more, oil is less, something like that. We reflect, we keep on improving on that one, and we become master of it. And you never forget it. Take the question of swimming. All these examples show that, because whatever we learn through an experience, and we make mistakes in the beginning, from the mistakes, after that experience, after that trial, we reflect, okay, and which are all the areas we need to improve, then we keep improving, we keep correcting, and you become a master. See, this is what this experiential learning is all about. Now tell the specialty, see, in the normal teaching now, what is happening, it is not experiential and all. Only look, in experiential learning, all your multi-sensory organs are engaged, in fact. It creates a multi-sensory environment. It engages speech, smell, touch, taste, feel. Maybe only speech is engaged now. But in experiential learning, we engage everything, because you are going to a direct experience. You are involved with 100%. It is child-centered. Your involvement is 100% assured, and you learn it. And from your learning, you think, you reflect, correct yourself, and you become a master. So all your speech, smell, touch, taste, feel, all your sensory organs are engaged in experiential learning. I hope at least you understood what is experiential learning. The first sentence, is learning through experience and reflection. Okay, and something, instead of learning theory and all, you do it by practice, by doing something, by doing an experiment or doing an action, you are learning. Correct? That is experiential learning. This was my first question. And David Kolb, okay, in 1984 and all, this theory has been come into practice. And he is the proponent of this theory. We have Carl Rogers and all. Carl Rogers has made some slight changes to this one. And we follow in schools and all, it is David Kolb's approach. What he said, learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. Okay, knowledge is created through transformation of experience. That is what I told, the 3 examples what I told you. Okay, how to ride a bicycle, how to learn swimming, and how did we learn cooking and all. It is transformation of experience. The same thing, the same approach we are bringing into the classroom. Okay, we learn by doing something from the experience and by reflection. That's what David Kolb, who has introduced this theory to us. Learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. So if you get time, please read David Kolb's book on experiential learning, worth reading. Please do read it. Now, what he said, there are 4 steps in David Kolb's learning cycle. This is what we follow in the classroom. This is what we are supposed to do when our teaching learning approach, in the pedagogical approach, is changed to experiential learning. As Krishna sir was talking in the beginning about the new NEP and all, a new education policy, new NEP in fact, not new NEP, new education policy. See, when it is introduced, the approach in teaching will be experiential. No doubt, it will be experiential. It has 4 steps in that cycle. The first one is a concrete experience. Okay, concrete experience. You feel it, you are doing it. And second one is reflective observation. Whatever you have done, you will be reflecting on it. Then the third step is abstract conceptualization. That is to think, okay, and you will make the possible changes, the corrections you are making, the decisions are taken there. Then practical application, we perform it in life. I'll explain it more. It has 4 steps. These are the 4 steps, Now, in the classroom, why do we do an experience, a concrete experience? Why do we go for, experiential learning? Always remember, it is to attain learning outcome. Why do you teach? It is to attain learning outcome. Who will achieve learning outcome? Learners will achieve learning outcome. So the purpose of doing an activity based on experiential learning, it is not for the sake of doing an experiential learning activity. It is for attaining the learning outcome. So every teacher must know, when you go to the classroom, what is the purpose of going there? It is, okay, in the 40 minutes, what are the learning outcomes your learners will achieve? For doing, achieving that learning outcome, we are doing an experiential activity. So what is the first step? That is concrete experience. You are doing or having an experience, right? You will do an experience. I hope I am making sense and all of you are with me. Is my pace is okay for you?
Yeah,
I will give examples to everything. I will just cover this theoretical part. Okay, then I will give for each subject. I will do it.
Please, sir.
So this is 4 steps. Please understand these 4 steps. Okay, this is the only theory part you have. Concrete experience. What is it? We do an activity where what we do, where we make sure every learner is involved in that activity. And why do you do this activity? For achieving learning outcome. And what is the pedagogical approach you have? That is experiential learning. In the experiential learning, there are 4 steps we follow. The first step is that you find an apt activity for achieving it. That is concrete experience, having an experience. You are simulating an experience inside the classroom so that every learner undergoes, every learner has an opportunity to have that real feeling of that experience. I hope it is understood. This is the first step. Then second step, you are going to reflective observation. Second step, reflection, the most important. Okay, what is reflection? You are reviewing on the experience, reflecting on the experience. After doing the activity, students, they do that activity for what? For achieving the learning outcome. And after that, they will definitely think, did I achieve my learning outcome? Every learner will think in that way. Did I achieve my learning outcome or not? Reflection number 1. Okay, did I enjoy this activity? Reflection number 2. What was the real moment, the most enjoyable moment when I did this activity? Reflection number 3. Like this, you know, you will reflect on everything because learning outcomes are already stated. Every learners know it. They will reflect. Did I achieve this? Did I achieve that? Like that, like that. If not, why? Even teacher can also join the reflection. Even teacher also reflect. Teacher will think, did my students achieve it? If not, why? Which are all the ways I could have changed it? Okay, in the next time, what are the changes should I make? Why did it go wrong? Okay, and, how can I improve? This is reflection. Then the abstract conceptualization. There, you know, we learn from the experience. The corrections are made. Okay, we find out the reasons. Corrections are made in abstract conceptualization. I know it may be a bit difficult for you to understand, but I'll give you examples. Okay, when I go to the next step, I'll give you example. That is abstract conceptualization. That is third one. Then active experimental. We are doing it. Look at now the cycle. How to ride a bicycle. Here I can give them. What is concrete experience? What do you do here? You started pedaling the bicycle. That is the activity you are doing. Somebody might have helped you for giving you the balance and all. In between you may lose your balance, then you may likely to fall down. If your partner gives you balance again by catching it, then you will, what do you say, keep that balance again. Otherwise, you may fall down also. But the thing is this, you know, you start pedaling, and every time you know, okay, this is the problem. I need to hold like this. I need to look front. Then your partner, whoever is helping them, tell you, okay, you need to do like this. You need to like this. This is the reflection part. First part, you are trying to ride. You are unable to do it. You fail. Then you stop it, reflect, okay, this is the correction, then this is the way, that is concrete experience is the first attempt what you are making. Reflection, okay, after the first experience, you are thinking about that, reviewing, what went wrong, what went right, how, then here, you know, you are taking decisions. Why is the problem? Okay, the problem is I am not looking at, okay, I'm not holding the handlebar properly. Okay, like this, you know, you will reflect, then you are correcting it, trying it again. Then you become a master and doing it. So these are the 4 steps in experiential learning. I hope I am making sense to you. I'm not getting any yes or no. Only I have Krishna sir with me. Sir, am I making sense? Is it reaching to everyone?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Totally sensible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. This is my energy now. Okay, now moving on. What happened again? Sometimes it is getting stuck. Okay. Now, what is it? It's a process of making meaning out of direct experience. That is by learning, by doing. What is experiential learning? I'm concluding the theory part. It is process of making meaning out of direct experience. In other words, it is learning by doing. Instead of, now we are not doing it, unfortunately. In online classes and all, okay, Ahmedabad University has all labs and all in virtual experience and all. We have to think about experiential learning for that as well. And you know, it is learning by doing. What are the critical factors here? Personalized reflection about an experience. Key point. See, the thing is that in normal activity inside the classroom and all, every learner is not involved in that one. Your hands-on activity, you demonstrate something. Oh, this is like the teacher demonstrate, and others will just look at it. They are not involved, in fact. But whereas in experiential learning, every learner is supposed to involve and do the activity, perform the activity, 100% involvement. Then every learner will reflect on it. That's what personalized reflection about an experience. This is the key difference in experiential learning. Okay, other thing in demonstration and all, constructivism and all, every learner may not get the personalized reflection. Here, this is the speciality. Okay, formulation of plans to apply learning to other contexts. I tell you a simple example. You know, okay, we used to do, in fact, you know, still we do experiments and all, and activities and all, role plays you do, many things you do in the classroom. But the point is that, you know, we do only an activity and stop there. Whereas here what happens, we are going, you know, 3 steps ahead, 3 more steps otherwise. See, normally we do an activity and stop there. We never go for a reflection. We never find out what went right, what went wrong, why did it go wrong, why did it go right, and we never reflect. And after that, we just correction is done. This is never taken place when we do any experiment or any activity also. This is what we are doing. We are going 3 steps ahead. That is, after doing an activity, reflection, then again finding out the reasons and correction, then applying it in real life. I hope it is understood now. And it emphasizes the process of learning and not the product. That is very, very important. The process is more important than the product. Japanese approach. The process is more important than the product. The process of learning and not on the product. Now, sir, the first step, the theory part is over now. I'm going for experiments and all. Sorry, examples. Does anyone have any doubt? Any point I need to tell?
No, there is one Navjot Kaur. She's asking from the theory part. How do you use this experiential learning in pre-primary classes? Is it possible pre-primary?
In examples, I will tell, sir. It is possible.
All right, please go
It
ahead.
is possible. In examples, I can in example. Any other thing? Theory part?
No other important ones. So this is the major.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. So, different methods. I am going to talk about different methods. Sometimes this is okay. The most what do you say, sought after activity what we do inside the classroom is role play. What we do in a role play, everyone knows it. Now I'll give an example from the point of view of language teaching, role play. For example, you are teaching a story. Okay, you want to do it as an experiential learning activity inside the classroom when you teach language. Let it be any language. I take a very famous story of Ajay Cronin, okay, 2 Gentlemen of Verona. See, in fact, I would like to hear from you, but unfortunately that is not possible also. What could be the possible outcomes of teaching that particular story? What could be the possible outcomes of teaching that particular story? Can anybody type so that Krishna sir will tell me?
Yeah. Can somebody type? Teachers nowadays are not that.
What could be the learning outcomes? What could be the learning outcomes? What is learning?
This is what happens when the teachers take classes. When they ask the students don't write. So when we take classes, the teachers also don't write. Because now they are students, so they are behaving like students. They are not writing.
What could be the possible? See,
yeah. Anybody, one of you can? Nobody. So they are in fact, sir. Your sound is more sweeter than the writing, so I think you should go ahead with your sound system.
Okay, sir. Okay. So see, when you teach a story, it could be, so especially in language teaching, it is meant for development of the language. Okay, you can say 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. This is the purpose. This is the purpose of teaching. Language, so that the communication skill is developed. Here, when we take role play as the experiential learning activity. What could see, every learner should know what are the things to be included in the script writing. So this is your first of your learning outcomes based on the story. This one, students will be able to write a script. Number 1, okay. Students will be able to use the new words and grammatical applications what they learn from the story, right? And they will be able to independently cast. Like this, you write your learning outcomes. What are the new words specifically? You may do it while taking the classes and all. I'm not going to that part and all. Your class is over. Okay, you have explained the lesson all by following all those things and all. Now you are going to the activity. You will tell your students we are going for the role play, and you will make the students into group. Okay, and the learning outcomes are this. Number 1, they will learn how to write a script. They will use the new words. What is learned from that particular lesson? Whatever the phrases, grammar part, they will everything. This is prerequisite conditions. Okay, they will include all those things in the script writing, and you will make them into groups, maybe 4 groups, 5 groups in the classroom. Even you can tell they can slightly change the story also, that so that the creativity is taken place. That liberty is there for them. So you will give them time. They will write the script. Maybe this is the concrete experience. Okay, we are going to this part. This from the first part I'm talking about concrete experience. So they will write the script, and when they write the script, you have already told them you need to use the new words what is learned from the lesson, the grammar things. Okay, if you have simple present there or the conditional clauses, all the phrases and all that must be included in the dialogue. They write the dialogue in the group. They say they write the dialogue. Script is written. Okay, they have found out. Okay, she is going to play this part like that. Everything is done. Then they are going for the performance. They go for the performance. They did the role play. This is the concrete experience. First part is over. Then what is the second part? Reflective observation. Reflective observation we are doing. In fact, you can ask before you go into the role play and all general things. What you can ask, did you really enjoy it? Let them start thinking. Yes, we did enjoy. Do you think that you could have done better than this? You can ask them this kind of question. What is the real aha moment during this performance? What did you what you didn't like? Like these questions you will ask. Then you are coming to the real $1 million question. Did you achieve the learning outcome or not? That part. See, they need to use the right pronunciation, and they need to find the right words. And the grammar part, there shouldn't be any mistake. This reflection is taken place. Then they will teacher may correct, teacher may reflect, and teacher will correct here. The third one, no, you could have actually done like this, you could have acted like this, you could have done like this. This is abstract conceptualization. Then they learn from this one, and once they are able to apply it in real life, a new word, until a new word is used in real life spontaneously, there is no point in learning that particular new word. It never happens. Once you have this kind of approach, then definitely they will start applying, using those words in real life. So I was talking about role play with an example for language, right? Even role play is possible for teaching history, Mughal dynasty, that the whole the embrace of Mughal, it could be done as a role play here. Even anything. Okay, in history, language and role play is one of the best methods. The only thing, after the role play, you should not stop. We need to make the students to reflect on it, and that should carry on. I hope it is understood. Role play. In role playing, students act out characters in a predefined situation. It allows students to take risk-free positions by acting out characters in a hypothetical situations, can help them understand the range of concerns, values, and positions held by the other people. See, this and all very much useful, especially when you teach history and all. This particular point. Even in Two Gentlemen of Varan also, I don't know how many of you know the story and all. If you know the story, there are a lot of values. Dignity of labor is coming there. Okay, universal brotherhood, the ill effects of war, everything is coming there. And they can show through the role play, all these 6 values and all. And somebody can ask the questions and all. If it is not there, what is the problem? Like this, if they ask counter questions and somebody emphasizes on values, okay, the need of the things and all, they learn it. Because why they learn it, I tell you, they involve in it one. Because they do it. Whereas in other things and teachers, this is the way I'm doing it. I know this is not the right way. I'm unable to get you involved fully. Understood? Had it been a face-to-face classroom, I would have made you to play role play now. Then I would have made one group to go for the role play, and the other group would have commented on that one. That's the way it is done. That's the way it is done. That you are doing an activity, the other group is commenting on that one, making the performance to reflect, and the teacher could conclude it. Then it is learned. That is what is experiential learning is all about. I hope you are all with me, right? The next is simulations. Okay, the next is simulation. What is simulation? Simulation is an approximate imitation of the operation of a process or a system. We do it a lot of simulations in, especially in medical colleges and all. There, the approach, simulation is there. Here, the teacher controls the parameters of this world and uses it to achieve the desired instructional results. I tell a best example of experiential learning, maybe from a lower class, primary class. I can give an example. For example, we teach students Indian currency and all, Indian currency. Okay. Normally, what we do, we carry the paper notes, replica of notes, currency to the classroom. We show them, okay, this is one rupee, this is 5 rupee note, like that, and we teach them. Maybe we go for that basic operation of addition, multiplication, all those things. And after showing them all those things, maybe teaching what we do, we give a problem, word problem, maybe maximum. Okay, Rama went to a shop and purchased 2 kg sugar worth 40 rupees and 3 kg wheat worth 30 rupees and 1 kg tea leaf worth maybe 150 rupees, something like that. And how much money should Rama give to the shopkeeper? You may give a question like this. Or you may ask maximum, okay, Rama gave a 500 rupee to the shopkeeper, and how much money did the shopkeeper give Rama back? Maybe you give questions like this. This is the way we normally teach. But here you can bring simulations, okay? How you can bring simulations. Look, you can create a grocery shop situation in the classroom. A grocery shop. You can make, okay, a simulated grocery shop. You can say simulated grocery. You have every item there, maybe boxes or something like that, and you have made a simulation of a grocery shop, a price tag and everything. It is written. And I tell you, you can go for an experiential learning activity here. It is what you can do. You can tell children. The best method, I tell you, you can even go for improvement of the other, inculcating values and inculcating or instilling skills also. Here's an opportunity. You can give the question like this. You give every student, okay, who is going for purchasing that part, who is playing that part, give them 500 rupees. 500 rupees and tell them, not the original note, replica of 500 rupees paper note, and tell them, you need to purchase 5 items. You need to purchase 5 items. I don't want a single rupee back, nor I will give you a single rupee more. Exactly, you have to spend 500 rupees and purchase 5 items, because you have simulated a grocery shop. Children going there and purchasing. Look, we are all, this is the first step. What first step? Concrete experience. That you need to remember now. Okay, concrete. This is the one. Concrete experience. Doing or having an experience. That's what is happening. Children going there and purchasing by looking at the what is the price tag and all. If I purchase 2 kg of dal, it could be 1 kg 60 rupees, 120. Like this. Lot of critical thinking is happening there. All analyzing information, 21st century skills, 21st century skills, that also will be taken place along with experiential learning. Okay, they will know how to analyze information through this one and all, price tag and all, and they have to do a lot of critical thinking. If I do this, if I purchase that, and they have to do problem solving, they have to take the decision, right? Look, then through experience, they learn that. How to handle currency, how to purchase the things by using currency in Indian currency, especially. Besides the basic operation mathematics, addition, multiplication, subtraction, the division, everything is taken place here. This is the best example for simulation. Okay, simulation. See, the sir told today is Air Force Day. In Air Force, we do a lot of simulations and all, situations and all. Even during situation, we simulate, and we get the real feeling. And beside that, we take PAT, pilot aptitude test. They say pilot aptitude test. See, for what do you say, fighter pilot and all, once they go to the other layer of environment, then there will not be even any, and again this one gravitational force. Sometimes they take the plane to there, and all see in the air, whatever that experience or feeling, what you hear, the mental process, and that same effect can be done in a PAT test. It is taken place in PAT test. I hope you understood what I meant. Whatever the physical changes or whatever the, I mean to say, mental problems somebody could undergo in the air, the same thing is simulated inside the room, because that is created, simulated. And who are fails in that test, they will not be selected as a pilot. Even you, who are, I mean, sings in a giant wheel and all, once you come down, if you have that feeling, it means, you are not fit for that job. I mean, you cannot be a good pilot. Are you getting my point? There's also simulation. So what I mean to say here, simulation is used in all over. In medical field, look this, the photographs, what is shown here, that is again simulation. So this is the best example for experiential learning. I hope it is clear. Any doubts so far regarding role play and simulation?
Oh, sir, you can move ahead.
Okay, no doubt. No doubt.
No doubt at all. Everything is clear.
Okay, it's a cliche. Still, I repeat, there could be participants. There could be two categories. One is that they have understood everything. Others, they don't, because I'm not good. They are not able to follow me. I don't know, which is a fact here.
No, they have understood. I think they have understood. Yeah, I get messages. They have understood. Yeah.
Good. So simulation is there. Look, the simulation I told in the beginning also, I told when Samiji asked me the question and all. Now you think, I am only giving a spark now. Now you need to think about your particular subjects, the topics and all, where you will be able to make this kind of simulations back at home, so that you create an atmosphere there. Okay, and students will be able to assume, or they can assume and get the real feelings and all. Look, and they get that experience. Please think when you teach whether you will be able to do an activity based on simulation. It is enjoyable, motivating activity, element of reality is compatible with the principles of constructivism, enhances appreciation of the more subtle aspects of a concept or a principle, and it promotes critical thinking. I gave an example. Okay, the best example I told from primary classes, when you teach Indian currency, denomination of Indian currency and all. How can you give an experiential learning activity? I hope you are all with me. I am making sense to you. Okay, now I'm going to next one, surveys. Survey is another example of, before I explain this one survey, I would like to tell you a very small story. Okay. It's not a story, it's a real thing, I think. We all heard about Buddha, okay? Sri Buddha. Look, one day, Buddha was on meditation. A lady approached him. She was bitterly crying and started pleading to Buddha, "Dear Lord, please open your eyes, please open your eyes." After hearing her, Buddha had slowly opened his eyes and asked her, "Yes, lady, what happened?" Then she said, "Look, Lord, hey, I am in deep trouble. There is no point in my living now. You know why? Because I lost my child. He is no more. And he was the only person related to me. Nobody else is in the world. Okay, so there is no point in my living. However, I was told you have a divine power of giving rebirth to the dead people. So please, Lord, please give rebirth to my child. Otherwise, I will also commit suicide and follow him. There is no point in my living." And started weeping, crying again bitterly. Buddha calmly listened to her and nodded. He said, "Yes, what you had is absolutely true. I can give rebirth to the dead people, but I need something for that. Look, you need to get some mustard seed. Please go and get some mustard seed. I'll be waiting here. And once you get the mustard seed, with mustard seeds, I can give rebirth to the child." The lady became very happy and stood up and started walking. Before she had left, Buddha added this also. Look, lady, see, you cannot purchase it from a shop. You need to get it from a house, and the condition is this, where nobody should have died. Lady thought it would be an easy thing. She would be able to fetch a mustard seed from any of the houses from that village. Then Buddha told, you take your own time. I'll be waiting for you here. But you need to fulfill the conditions. If you are not able to fulfill the condition, even if you bring the mustard seed, I won't be able to give rebirth to your child. And she started approaching houses by houses. Wherever she went, okay, she was able to fulfill the first condition. The first condition was this, availability of mustard seed. She asked, do you have a mustard seed? Everyone said yes. But when she asked the second question, everybody said, okay, no, somebody died in their house. And what she could find out, there were people who suffered more than her still survived. Okay. And what the story says, she didn't even bother to go back to Buddha. She went along with the cremation of her son and lived. See, why I'm telling this story, it's a example for inquiry-based constructivism method and all, but it's an example for survey. Because look, the Buddha was known for his speeches and all. He could have given a lecture, the way I'm doing now. Look, lady, once you have taken birth, you have to die, all those things. He could have given a lecture in that way. But instead of that, what Buddha did, Buddha made her to go for a survey, and she went with the questionnaire and found out the answer. Okay, and she was able to come to a conclusion that death is inevitable. Buddha could have told it. Buddha could have given a speech on that one. But by doing a survey or an activity, it's from her own experience, she could learn that death is inevitable. That was learning outcome of Buddha, She wanted to teach the lady from her own experience, okay, by taking a survey, that death is inevitable. This is the, and do you think that she had Buddha given a lecture? Do you think that lady would have got convinced? Never, never. So this is the way. See, once we do an activity from our own experience, we learn the things, and that is permanent. And that is more convincing than the normal, this kind of talking or all those things, lecturing and all. So I hope you understood the survey. Now it is, you think now, especially social studies teachers and all, economics teachers, business studies teachers and all, you can think about sending students for survey. Now it's not the time, COVID time, post-COVID time, this is best method. It is something similar to research also. You will find out a topic and you will formulate the aim or learning outcomes and all. Questionnaires, they will be collecting it and analyzing it. Analyzing is reflection. Analyzing is reflection and finding out the things, reasons and all, and implementing. That then all the 4 steps in corpus experience and learning is taken place in a survey. I hope it's understood. Am I making sense or not, sir? Are you with me, sir? Not there?
Yeah, very much.
Okay, good.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Because I'm a person, I would always want to hear from the participants,
Yeah,
yes, or something
please
like that. Anyway, it's another experience in learning, okay?
Absolutely.
Now, see, look, another example is field trip. Another example is field trip. Here, see, normally we do this activity. See, I can give, what is field trip, no? It's a structured activity that occurs outside the classroom. Can be a brief observational okay, even smaller children can be taken to the maybe police station. You can take them to a post office. You can take them even if you teach compound interest and all. You can take them into a bank and you can see how a bank is functioning and all. These are all field trips, in fact. Okay, but when we go there, we need to go with a purpose, because we go there for learning something, to attain the learning outcome and all. And the best one in agriculture and all, in 10th standard and all, in geography we have agriculture and all. You take, that is very much required also. They take our, I don't know, those who belong to metro cities and all, whether you will be able to do it or not, still you try. Take them to agriculture field and you interact with farmers and you just learn how this cultivation is taken place and what they do for the preparation and all, tilling land, all those things, adding manures, watering, how frequently it is to be done. They'll be able to learn about different crops and all, and maybe you will go 2 or 3 times field trip. In 10th standard, we have a lesson agriculture. We need to do it, need of the hour, because without that we can't live, right? So field trip. Then you go there. Maybe if your topic is geography, agriculture, then you will go at the time of preparation, at the time of sowing, and maybe when it is half grown, or how do they water it, how do they add the manure, what kind of, for removing the weed, what are the methods they use, and even children can also involve in that one, and they will be noting down all those things, come back and discuss. That is reflection, and coming and asking to the farmers, if it is like this, and what would happen, like this, questions are asked. Then at the time of harvesting also they go, and you know, the perfect field trip. I don't think, you know, teaching agriculture, there is no other best method than this. So again, I'm giving you spark only, because of the time. I can give one example from my area, and you think about that. Okay, from your lesson, when you take them for a field trip, for everything you can do it, right? So I hope you understood field trip. Where will you be using field trip and all?
Yes, sir.
Now its purpose: offer an opportunity for students to get exposure to real people and events. Opportunity to make connections with others. Social skill is also developed. Look, visit people and places that they are not normally exposed to during the school day. Very, very important. I tell you, very, very important. Then, how to do it? Okay, prepare students for the learning. Have a debriefing session for students to share their learning when they return to the. See, whenever we do any activities, children must be told what are they going to do, how are they going to do. Moreover, the purpose, why part, why do they do it? The most important is why, then what, then how. Why is the most important thing, I tell you. Why, you know? Because, you know, once you are convinced, you do certain things for this purpose, and this is the benefit of it. Certainly, 100% involvement will be there from the learners. This is what, you know, as a teacher, what you need to make sure that your learners are there with you always. They give 100%. They are involving in the learning process, teaching learning process. We get 100% result. I hope it is understood. Okay, what is field trip and how it is done, how the briefing and debriefing is done, how reflection is taking place, how abstract conceptualization is taking place, and what is there in the real life. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then experiments for science and mathematics and all. We do a lot of experiments. Next time when you do an experiment, you think about, in chemistry, you think about making a soap. Making a soap. It's an experiential learning. Can you do it or not? I'm not explaining. All chemistry teachers can do it. How to the pH value, whether of the teach about the pH value, how pH value differs, all chemical, everything you can use. Perfumes you can make, many things you can manufacture. So when you teach chemistry, think about going for something like that. So making soap, maybe from 8th standard you can do it. In 8th standard you can do it, an activity. Again, the purpose, after making it one, whether did they achieve the quality, if not, why. Okay, if it is too soft, why? If it is too hard, why? Like this, the thinking process is done. The things about the ingredients, it's from proposition. If something is more, what will happen? If something is less, what will happen? This is the reflection. This is the reflection. This is the way we do it, experiment. Once you do the experiment, whatever the experiment we do in science, okay, whatever may be, then always remember this. What we do, it is for achieving the learning outcome. After doing the experiment, the analyzing part, what we do in the lab, inside the lab and all, we need to extend it. Real reflection must be taken place. Real reflection must be taken place. Then think about that. What kind of chemical reaction is taken place there? How it is changed? Why it is that? Why part? That is very, very important. Are we achieving it? Did we achieve it? If not, why? Did I enjoy it? What should I do for more involvement? This is reflection. So experiment is another one. I'm not explaining experiments because I know you have been doing it for all these years. But once you do next time, please do remember you will be trying to follow the 4 steps. That is experiential learning is all about. Concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, active experimentation. These 4 steps. Active experimentation is real life use. In science center, real life use. Tell them the example. Okay, because of this invention, because of this formula, Ohm's law, where it is applied in life. E is equal to mc square, where is it applied in life? Okay, so maybe a simulation, maybe all apps type things you may use there. That is also equally important in experiential learning, right? Then because of this invention, because of this formula, what we enjoy now in life. This is all about experiential learning, right? Now this one, another one. Okay. Sir, how much time can I use?
Sir, it's actually up to 5. We are at 5:20.
Then I am stopping, sir. The last point. Okay. Last point. Focused imaging. This is another one, a very, very important one. See, imaging enables students to relax and allows their imaginations to take them on journeys. Experience situations firsthand, respond with their senses to mental images formed. I'm not explaining all the whatever the points is written. I tell you an example. When you teach poems, poetry, you can use focused imaging in the classroom. You know how you make the students to close the eyes, recite the poem the best possible way you can recite it. Or if you are not good at reciting and all, you may think about playing an audio. Let them listen to it by closing the eyes. Twice or thrice you do it, then ask them to just draw what they have listened. Let them draw it. From the whatever they have listened. Let them draw it. Then after that, you make them into group and ask them what are the things they have drawn in that group. What are the common things they have found out? What are the uncommon things they have found out? This is the way you start teaching a poem. There will be 100% involvement. Even you can go one step ahead in focused imagination. What you can do, you can even give in a group. You can give two lines to everyone, right? And let them Damsharak we say, they will act and tell. This is what, again, focused imaging. This is one of the best methods of teaching poetry, focused imaging. This is also experiential learning. And ask them about their experience, the involvement. Okay, let them reflect. Then you start explaining and teaching in. I tell you, they will never forget that poetry. They will start loving poetry. And that is what, whatever they listen, you need to make them to draw. Clear now? Now I'm concluding. Experiential learning, I hope you understood, it connects real world scenario, helps to contextualize learning, helps to understand the challenges in solving problems. Here it is. Learning that is considered as experiential contain all the following elements: reflection, critical analysis and synthesis. It happens. It's opportunities for students to take initiative, make decisions and be accountable for the results. Opportunities for students to engage intellectually, creatively, emotionally, socially or physically. You look all the examples what I told. They will get connected, in all these areas. A design learning experience that includes the possibility to learn from natural consequences, mistakes and success. That's what they do. Mistake, no problem. They reflect on it, correct it and moving forward. So that they learn it thoroughly, and whatever they learn, they will learn it for their life, they will retain it for their life. That's the specialty of experiential learning. I don't know. I'm stopping. Thank you very much, because I was going a bit fast, I know, deliberately, because I hope I was able to reach to you, at least something you will carry back home, right? And thank you very much. Thank you, Amrita University, for giving me an opportunity. It is really wonderful to having a section for Amrita and all. I consider myself as blessed here. I don't know. So thank you, everyone involved. Thank you, sir, Krishna sir. And it is time for asking questions. I am ready to take the questions. And thank you very much.
Yeah, we do not find questions to be asked, because I think the teachers have really understood in full about what's been explained to them on experiential learning. And I'm sure that this has added more value and knowledge and information to our teachers who have been with us for the last almost about 90 minutes now. So, sir, doctor, we are in fact, I don't know, thank you is just an ordinary word to tell you and say close from this event, but it's a big thank you to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us and informing those teachers who have been attending about what is experiential learning. And I'm sure this will be implicated into the classrooms when they get back to the classrooms, and our students will benefit out of your talk. So thank you once again, sir, for being with us, and we'll catch on with many more such topics in the future. And on behalf of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, it's Medul Krish signing off at the moment. So thank you once again. Wish you all good luck in the future.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Good evening. Namaskar.
Good evening.
Jai Hind. Thank you.